Hi guys, welcome back to Pure Core episode 5. We're on now. Moving at quite a speed, I would say. Today's episode, as you can tell from the title, I always put the title in the thumbnail, is all about violence. I guess a bit of an intro into this topic, because it's a bit of a strange one, but it does relate a little bit to yesterday's topic as far as I think the subject matter which it was centered, or the reason for the subject matter it was centered around, and why I felt we needed to get into that one probably earlier on than I previously planned. Um, yeah, I guess violence has become more and more prominent in society over the last, well, decades or so. I think violence in metropolitan areas and suburban cities is on the rise for numerous reasons. Just of late, just to give some recent context to this particular topic. So in the last few weeks, we've seen the riots. I saw a very disturbing video of a guy basically having a medieval knife jousting fight in the back of a cab. Taxi driver scared for his life. Uber driver could have ended up hurt himself. And we also saw a pretty violent situation at Manchester Airport. And I'm not really trying to speak to current affairs. That's not really why I'm here. That's not the purpose of doing this. However, what I will say is this particular conversation about violence, when I came around the idea of starting Pure Core, which was originally going to be a book, something I would, I guess, have written in full and attempted to get published, I thought this was just an easier way to get the information out there is to just make these videos myself through YouTube. Um, One of the first topic that I approached in this manner was violence. The reason for that, just to give I guess a bit of a background, which I guess will give a little bit of context to me and the topic itself, is violence is something I've always struggled with. I think that's because I'm a very kind-natured person. I like to think I am anyway. I want to do good. I want to help people. I want to spread positivity. I want to be a light, a beacon, and all those things. And sometimes when you're trying to be that, violence is a very difficult violence and conflict, as I mentioned in the episode. I think about anxiety as a fear that you have to remove. You have to remove your fear of conflict, right? Violence is something which I was never keen on, and I'm still not keen on it, obviously. But I think the reality is, I understand its purpose and its place in our lived experience, and when is the right time for it, much better than I used to. And that was the first place I started when it came to Pure Core and kind of devising ways to move through the universe, our planet Earth, without causing too much harm or damage to the fellow man. I think violence is one of the difficult things to kind of approach when you want to do good. Okay, you want to do good, you don't want to be violent. However, sometimes violence comes to your door. So today we're going to talk about violence in a very direct sense and try and get what I hope is a bit of context as to why the reasons for violence, and then if you're someone who's has a similar nature to me, who has a faith and a belief in a higher power, when are we allowed to be violent? When should we be violent? When is violence? And I guess violence isn't necessarily the right word really for the context, because violence is quite the word violence in that sense has an element of chaos about it. It doesn't have a focus, it doesn't have a purpose, it's just destructive, right? So it's not necessarily the right word, but what we are talking about is physicality in the raw combative form. Okay. And I over talk to explain things, and I hope it's easy enough for you guys to grasp. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job of doing that through some of these videos. So violence, violence, or particular fighting. Let's use the word fighting. I think that was what my original what my original the original word I used was, or narrative I used for this particular topic was fighting. So we'll start here, as we always do. We'll start with the basis of the conversation, and we'll build from there. So the easiest way to approach this is why. Why do we fight? What are the reasons for fighting in modern day society? And I've established two main reasons for fighting or violence, however you want to categorize it. The two main reasons why do we fight: survival and anger. Sometimes those two, there's a crossover, but I think in this instance, we're going to keep them very separate. So survival, as let's determine these things, is survival is all about your safety, the safety of people around you, the safety of people you love, living to see another day. Contrastly, let's just say fight or flight, right? Fight or flight. So I have a decision to either combat the force that's coming against me with physicality, fighting, or I can run away, which again um isn't always possible. You can't always run away. As much as I would advocate for people avoiding violent situations, fighting situations, it's not always going to be possible. Sometimes you're going to have to go in there head on, right? So why do we fight? Two reasons: survival, anger, survival, fight or flight, which is akin to danger. There's real danger in your midst at that point. So you have a situation you have to deal with. Second to that is anger. And anger is akin to disrespect, which is connected to your ego. So you only get angry when you feel like your ego is being disrespected. And that's different to fighting for survival, which is when you're in actual danger. And I'm going to read some of the sentences here because I think it's more neat for me to do that, and I want to talk around them. So disrespect is never a reason to be violent. It puts you in no danger, right? So words, as we know, the sticks and stones will break my bones, words will never hurt me. If someone says something to you that you don't necessarily like, it doesn't really put you in any danger. You're not being attacked. Maybe you are verbally, but again, if you are in control of your emotions and your ego, that's never going to cause you to be violent. And you should never be violent in a situation where someone is just saying things to you, because if you then meet words with actions, violent actions, you are then the aggressor. Okay, and that is not what you want to be in these scenarios if you're someone of a similar nature to myself, which is again why we're discussing this topic today. So disrespect is never a reason to be violent. It puts you in no physical danger, right? Or any kind of danger. Contrastly, using your ego in such situations will put you in absolute danger. So again, to the point I just made, right? If you meet those words with actions, the actions that maybe your ego feels is warranted because of the disrespect you've just felt, your ego's been hurt, your pride has been hurt, you are then putting yourself in danger, you're then putting the other person in danger, you're maybe putting your 2-3 friends that are with you in danger as well. Again, having that ego in check, which is going to be a constant theme throughout these videos, having your ego in check is going to save your life in so many ways. Prosperity, safety, so many things are going to be a lot easier once you manage to minimize your ego and understand your place in the universe. And this goes on to the next point about how you react to said, maybe in this case, we're discussing verbal stimulus. Your perceived ability to handle said danger can be the key to your demise. So let's put that in context. I grew up with many people who from different backgrounds, a lot of people who were in environments where different to myself. As you know, I grew up in, like I said, East Finchley, Archery, Highgate. These aren't particularly dangerous places to live. I'll be honest. I had a pretty nice area to live in, which made growing up a bit easier, right, compared to other places in London. Let's just call a spade a spade. The reality is, in certain other parts of London, I knew friends that were growing up who didn't have that safety and comfort on their doorstep. They were in environments where fighting would, as we discussed that fight or flight thing, they wouldn't have a choice. They would just have to fight. Otherwise, they could be victims. They could find themselves in a situation where everyone sees you as food because you won't protect yourself and you're not willing to stand up for yourself. And that, again, is another situation where I think you are allowed to be violent in order to maintain your safety, right? So your perceived ability to handle said danger can be the key to your mind. So if you are in such an environment where violence is quite a present threat consistently, one of the things that you're going to maybe fall into or can fall into in such an environment is an ability to or a feeling that you are always prepared to handle said situation. So let me just put that into clear context for you. Growing up, let's say you're, I'll give an analogy, you know, I like my analogies. You're 15 years old, you get into your first scrap, you win. Knock the guy out 2 seconds clean, he's out on the floor. But you don't like fighting. So again, another situation arises. Maybe this time it's a verbal stimuli and your ego just gets a little bit hurt and you think, you know what? I know I've got that one bang. I'm not going to have this talk from this guy. Boom, he's out as well. Okay, second fight. You're 2-0 now. 2-0. You're becoming a bit of a legend as well at that, right? So you're actually gaining a bit of reputation and respect through violence, which is the worst type of respect you can have, I think, in some respects, unless the violence is brought towards you. Again, we're talking about verbal stimuli, disrespect, ego, not real fight or flight, real danger. So again, now you're emboldened. You're even more emboldened by your ability to handle violent situations. So fight 3 happens. Maybe it's a bit rockier, but you get through it with the win. You're 3-0. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, however many, you now develop I guess a coded response to certain stimuli that means that now you just fly into danger. You'll fly into violence, fight situations without thinking too hard about whether or not the violence and the anger is warranted. Is this person really putting me in danger? Is there disrespect? Is this disrespect really harming me? Should I be responding to these situations with violence? And a lot of the time, as I've kind of outlined already, the answer is just no. You're not in danger. Someone saying some shit to you, I swore, damn. Someone saying some stuff to you that you find disrespectful doesn't put you in danger. In fact, if you want to build strength and character, you need to be able to handle negative words being thrown at you, because in other situations, maybe that aren't as combative, you're going to need to take criticism and you're going to need to be maybe feel like you're being disrespected even though you aren't. So you need thick skin in life anyway, right? However, you can be emboldened by your ability to handle these situations, and you might be good at fighting. Some people are. Some people have that natural power and they just touch people when they go to sleep. You see it in boxing, you see it in MMA, you see it in the UFC, you see it in kickboxing, all these different combative sports. Some people have that death touch where, and I've had friends that have had that death touch. I've seen friends get into these situations, you just clean house, knock out 3, 4, 5 people, but just because they have that touch. And again, you can be emboldened by that. It's a cool thing to have, right? Being able to handle physical situations, but at the end of the day, that is never always going to save you. And as I'm kind of getting into here, and I'm dragging this point out, I really shouldn't. That emboldens of being able to handle these situations ultimately can be the key to your demise. So your perceived ability to handle said danger can be the key to your demise. So you get to 10-0, hood legend. Everyone knows you as that one bang guy, but invariably, through maybe nights out, parties, gatherings, other situations you can get into as a youth and as a man as well, you're gonna meet someone that you can't knock out, and you might meet someone who can knock you out. And in that situation, you maybe take your first loss. And in, I guess, in any situation like that, and I've seen it happen many times before. Once you hit the deck in a fight, all bets are off. If you're unconscious, you don't know what's going to happen. And invariably, it only takes one punch to kill someone anyway. So really, you have to be very circumspect about what you're doing when you're getting into these situations. Like I said, you think that you can defeat anyone. Ultimately, you're going to meet someone who you can't defeat, and that person's going to have their way with you on that day. And hopefully on that day you learn your lesson. But really, it's about learning from other people's mistakes. That's what wisdom is, right? So you should know that invariably you're going to meet someone who you don't have the power to beat. And that shouldn't be the deterrent for fighting. The deterrent should be not wanting to hurt people, actually. But if you're being smart about it, you know that winning fights isn't always a marker of how you can handle every situation. So to put that into a neat sentence again, your perceived ability to handle said danger can be the key to your demise. So, and that can literally be your demise. You know, people have, listen, I know plenty of people who have lost their life to situations like that, where if they were a bit smarter, if they walked away, if they didn't let their ego have the last say, they'd still be here today. And it's quite a sad thing. We know, in especially in our current society, many young lives are being lost far too soon because people don't have their ego in check. They think that they're Superman, they can handle any situation. And that's just not the case. You are always going to meet someone bigger and badder than you. And it, again, your ability to handle violent situations is not a good marker of the man you are. It shows weakness. Actually, it shows that you aren't in control. It shows that you don't have any ability to dampen your temper when tensions rise. You don't have the very solid skill, which is good in some business settings, of diplomacy. These are skills that you need to have as a man. So again, from the top of the conversation, as I've established, violence is sometimes necessary. When you are put in danger, physical danger, absolutely, you can do what is necessary to keep yourself safe, to keep your loved ones safe. And I'll go into that now, right? So survival or protection from danger is the only reason for violence that I would adhere to. If you're fighting for survival, God will fight with you. At that point, you are then face to face with the devil himself. So if you meet someone who you have not troubled, you have not done wrong to, you have not sought to do ill to, and they want to harm you, that is the devil. That's evil. Because that person has no reason to want to do anything to you, yet they have this violent feeling that they want to express on you for whatever reason. It could be more about them than it is about you. So again, that's why you need diplomacy, you need smarts, and also as well, being in, if you lead with diplomacy, you're gonna, again, I'm not coaching fighting here. That's definitely not what this video is about, because this is about the morality of it and not the action of it. But if you meet a situation like that where someone just has it out for you, and maybe they're saying a lot and they look like they want to fight and they look like they want to kind of impose themselves on you, your diplomacy can save you in this situation as well. Because if you can keep a cool head, maintain a demeanor of someone who doesn't want to fight, and at the moment at which it's out of your control, you can act before they can act, that will save you in that situation. However, when you just fly into the situation and you try and meet their force with a measured force which you think is going to match or beat them, again, it's 50-50. You don't really know what's going to happen. Maybe you have that touch of death that I described earlier. Maybe you don't, but invariably, you'll find out, and you might be on the wrong end of that situation. Okay, so your diplomacy can really save you in these situations. As I said in this sentence as well, which is the key part of this, when, like I said, a lot of this I will type faith and logic. We always have to tie it back to one of those things. So we've talked through the logic of when fighting is okay, when violence is okay. Dealing with the faith of the matter is this: when that evil is present, when the devil is present, when that natural force for the opposite of good is present, God's on your shoulder at that point, and he will absolutely go to war with you. That is when you're allowed to go to war, and he will fight with you to the death if necessary. I'm not going to advocate for, ending anyone's life or anything like that, but in a situation where someone is that rabid and they want to hurt you like that, who knows what can happen. But as I said to you, if you align yourself with the right side of that situation, God will fight with you, and that will give you more strength than you could ever have imagined you could have, essentially. So again, it is all about measuring these moments with the right head and being able to say, okay, is this person's demeanor, words putting me in danger? No, they're not. Okay, well, I need to be smarter, bigger, cooler than them, and I need to walk away from the situation, or I need to find a way to nullify it completely without having to put my hands on them. However, again, once they decide that they're going to put their hands on you, all bets are off. Okay, and God will fight with you, and we'll go as far as we need to go into that situation to make it out, to get our friends out, to get our family out, to live to see another day. But again, that's it. And I would say, just from an outset standpoint, in closing, because I think I've summed it up pretty neatly. Having the ability to understand combat is important. I think for men, you should absolutely, go to your boxing gym, go to your whatever you want to do, karate, taekwondo, kickboxing. Do something which teaches you the ability to handle your body and to manipulate someone else's body to nullify them as a threat to you. Because you never really know when that's going to happen, and you could be out having a casual night out with friends or with a girlfriend and just be out for a good time, and then that situation is just pressed upon you, and you can be in absolute danger. Someone could be carrying away. Anything can happen, right? So I think it's important for young men to know how to use these and this before they want to pick up a weapon, per se, because once you pick up a weapon as well, you don't really know where it's going to go from there. If you pick up a sharp object, a blunt object, you can really do some damage to someone that you don't really want to do, especially, again, if you're someone who has a similar nature to me. You're going to be more interested in just nullifying the threat as opposed to causing harm. And that's why, again, I advocate for jiu-jitsu, because I think it's a very good skill to have when you don't want to hurt people, but you want to be able to maintain your safety at all times, given that you never know where the threat is going to come from. Jiu-jitsu teaches you to just use someone else's kind of force and body against them almost. It's a very cerebral martial art. Different to kind of, boxing and taekwondo, for instance, where it's all about that blunt impact, that deliverance of power. Jiu-jitsu isn't about that. It's more about, like I said, limb manipulation, momentum manipulation, and body control. I guess that's it. To summarize, words do not put you in danger. uh they only affect your ego, and that is where the disrespect and anger comes from, and that is not a reason to fight. You need to be smarter, you need to use diplomacy, and have a cooler head. However, if someone presses themselves on you, and they press the issue, and they then decide that they're going to be violent, even if you preempt their violence, use your senses to be like, okay, it's happening now, I'm going to get in there first. That's totally fine, I think, as well. You just have to be able to read the situation correctly. That's enough of violence today. Hope you guys are having a good day. As I said, if you think this video will be helpful to someone, please share it with them. You don't have to like, comment, or subscribe. I just want to do good and try and help as many people as possible. Peace. I'll see you in episode 6.